Hi, guys, and welcome back to Tripping in Grace. I just wanted to discuss a few things that happened recently. It's been a little bit delayed in getting out to you because I've been struggling with, my hand and trying to make sure that things are coming out on time. But recently, at the end of July, we had Love Week with my church, and I was involved in a lot of volunteer work and set up to do, I think, like 7 events at the time. Um, and then I was in an accident July 9th. So I was actually missing my car. Like, I had no car. I said, "Oh, I'm not going to get a rental because I'm not I don't have to get to work." So I thought that I would have it by Love Week, and I didn't think that it would interfere. But lo and behold, here comes Love Week and my car isn't ready. So I was kind of scrambling to figure out what I was going to do for Love Week. And so what Love Week is with my church, it's an opportunity for us to volunteer in our own local community for like a week straight that's just dedicated to serving the local community. And there were multiple events in every day. So from Saturday of the first week until Sunday, there were opportunities to go and, work with different organizations. We work with SALT and Salvation Army, just to name a couple here in Orlando. And it's a huge blessing to participate in these. Like, I was so excited to really sign up and be able to contribute to other people, like learning to build their faith by being doers of the word and not just listeners. I think that outreach is always going to have a special place in my heart, and it's one of the reasons why Elevation is my church personally. Um, but I signed up for all of these events, and I was excited to get there, and I don't have a car. So I was very blessed to have people in the church that were just like, "Oh, do you need a ride?" Like, without me even asking, I was just talking to them like, "Hey, this is a situation with my car." Immediately, "Hey, do you need a ride? I will help you get there." And it was just such a blessing to see like people come through for me in ways, I have had a lot of trouble like asking for help, and it's not just my own pride. It's, a lot of other safety things, but I was just offered in these very major ways the help that I needed. And I was so grateful, even so much as to offer to be paid like my Uber to get to certain places. And I'm just thankful for the opportunities that I got to grow over this Love Week. Like, I was also involved with signing people up and getting them into the volunteer slots, and that was just such a great experience. I've learned that it's an amazing place to be able to give back to the community, um, with your time and just be a representation of God and Jesus that somebody might not get the chance to see. Um, so by the time it was over, I made it to all of my events. I was blessed to meet and know some amazing people. I think honestly, I needed to make more of those connections in the church because it was just so amazing to have that time with other people, to actually get to know them deeper than just like, hey, we're signing up and we're volunteering together, which that's always a good way to like meet and know people. But to have those car rides and just talk about things, and I had people praying for me. One of the women who was leading the event that I was hosting came and picked me up with her children. And just her and her children were praying for me on such a hard day with my hand. I was literally crying because I was like worried about getting into a doctor. And they prayed for me and I felt so much better. And then afterwards, I come back from the event and it was solved, everything was fixed, in a timely manner, which was the most frustrating thing about that whole situation. I think that I was also able to see that I can, also trust God in these daily things, that He's going to place the people that I need when I need them where they're supposed to be. And that's just such a big part of understanding God's provision. When we were talking about it, um, I didn't realize that that was what God was doing. God was showing me like who I can trust and building my community. When I was talking to one of our church leaders, that's what it really stood out to me, that she said, hey, I think God's letting you trust people. And I'm like, that's fairly true, because that's something I'm working on. But also, I thought that it was for me to trust in His provision. And ultimately, the people that He places in my life are definitely part of His plan and His provision. But it is nice to be able to um, have that community and that support. So it was a beautiful thing altogether. And then another area, with the car accident, being at the beginning of July, we were working on, going back to school right after Love Week. It's back to school. And so even though I had my car, now I paid the deposit, well, I should say the deductible for getting the car back. And that took away money that could have been going to school supplies and other things that needed to happen that week. And they weren't, obviously the money wasn't there. I had to get the car going because I have to get to work. Kids, have their things. And I like going to church. So I'd also like to have my car for that. But God made a way for us to have school supplies as well. Like, there was a donation thing that occurred with our neighborhood, and I was trying to manage my money and figure out, where am I gonna put what where, you know what I'm saying? Like, what money am I moving and where's it going to? And where am I getting this money that I need to move from? And I'm trying to figure it out, and like a big blessing. Here comes my cousin. Hey, come down and get school supplies. We have like a donation thing going on over here. And that was just such a huge blessing for me, because, it might not have been everything that the kids needed in that moment, but it was definitely more than I could have asked for in that moment. I was so busy trying to figure out what I was going to do. And to have that was amazing. And then also, someone else was like, hey, do you need any more school supplies? And I was like, yeah, I just need a few more of this, whatever. And they were like, okay, I'm ordering it. It'll be there by Wednesday. And I was just like, wow, that's so amazing. Like, people are really willing to help you without asking for anything in return. So much so that I actually didn't have to ask one of my friends for help, because they asked me and they're like, hey, do you have everything? And I'm like, oh, I'm actually good already. But thank you so much for checking in on me. And then also was able to even pour out, like, I was able to bless somebody else, because when I went and got the school supplies, they were like, hey, we have enough for somebody else. Like, does anybody need these supplies? And me thinking I had everything that I needed before we went to, meet the teacher, I said, yeah, this is everything I need. And was able to actually get another book bag for someone that needed it, and had messaged me like, hey, you know, um, they were having a hard time. And so I was like, do you need school supplies? And they said yes. So I brought them a book bag. So it's when you think that you're not going to be able to do anything for anybody, and you just find ways that God provides for you and in excess, so you can actually be a blessing to other people, that you just stand in awe of like what He does on a daily basis. Because if you had told me during Love Week, or during at the beginning of July, when my hand is messed up, my car is wrecked, and all of this is going on, that I would be able to bless anybody, or even just be able to make it on myself, I would have been like, there's no way, you're crazy. Hilariously, we were just talking about this in church, where we say no way, God says He's gonna make a way. So it's just perfect timing altogether for me. But you just stand back in awe of it because He does these things and He uses you no matter what you're going through. And you might be thinking, like, oh, it's such a hard time, whatever. But He just still uses that. And I think it's just so beautiful. Um, and that's just a reminder to not block your blessings or block other people's blessings by being in those positions. Sometimes we have to like maintain an open mindset and be willing to still, look at how we can be doing things in our community or even in our own situation, because sometimes we get a little stuck in ourselves and it's hard because our problems can be overwhelming. I'm not going to tell you that I haven't been overwhelmed or had anxiety about some of my problems. But what I can tell you is that my problems are a lot smaller than the problems in the world. And my God is a lot bigger than any of that. So I always have to try to get outside of myself. And once I get outside of myself, I see these amazing things happen, not only through me, but for me. Being involved at Elevation Church and being able to volunteer is just like a really big blessing. And it continues to be a big part of my life. I'm in church and I enjoy my e-groups. If you've read my blog, then you know how far my e-group has brought me, and being in these communities has helped me grow so much in the past years that I can just only be grateful for it. So as always, for now, I want to say love God, love others, and I'll see you on the next episode of Tripping in Grace.